We call this meeting to order. If you would follow along with the pledge and the invocation from Ted Martin.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Please join me in prayer. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day in the Ozarks, especially a 60-degree day in January was amazing. Tonight, we invite you into the chambers as we look over this agenda and do the business of the city. We pray that the discussion will be wholesome and honorable to you as we move forward for our residents, our visitors, and our businesses alike. Father, we love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Ted. Madam Clerk, will we get a roll call, please?
Lucas. Oh, yeah. Denham. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Howden. Here. LeBlanc.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. This is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear citizens who have signed up in the order they are listed. Please note the clerk will let speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask that speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If a speaker would like a board member to bring an item down from the consent agenda for additional discussion, please note this request during comments. Please come to the freestanding microphone to address the board. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
We have one speaker, Gary Groman, speaking on "It is Fitting."
Good evening. One of my three favorite Branson mayors, Rayanne Presley, once said, quote, "In a city where veterans and their families are so central to our core values, it is fitting that we have this permanent memorial honoring America's military services in the center of our historic downtown district." Mayor Presley spoke those words during a special ceremony held in historic downtown Branson before the start of Branson's annual Veterans Day Parade on November 11th, 2008. The ceremony was to dedicate the first 5 commemorative squares of what was to be the Branson Star Walk. The walk was to be a tribute to those people and events that have contributed to the history, heritage, and entertainment that made Branson what it is, and America's military services. Under an agreement between the historic Downtown Branson Business Owners Association and the city, the first 5 squares honored each branch of the U.S. military at the time: U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Coast Guard, and U.S. Air Force. It was at the dedication of those squares that Mayor Presley said, "In a city where veterans and their families are so central to our core values, it is fitting that we have this permanent memorial honoring America's military services in the center of our historic downtown district." Yeah, I know I repeated it, but it's worth repeating. The military squares were taken up, moved to Patriots Park, and set up against a wall during Phase 1 of the Downtown Streetscape Project, where they remain today. While the Streetscape Project makes it impracticable to reinstall the squares to their original position, I believe that it's a matter of honor that we include a permanent memorial honoring America's military services in the center of the historic downtown district of America's most patriotic city. One way to do it would be to put up slightly larger than normal street name signs, each with the name and logo of a service branch, on the poles just above the regular street name signs. How it happens is not as important as making sure that the most patriotic city in America does not go on record as removing what it promised would be a permanent memorial honoring America's military services in the center of the historic downtown district. I would paraphrase Mayor Presley's words and say, "In America's most patriotic city, where veterans and their families are so central to our core values, it is fitting that we have this permanent memorial honoring America's military services in the center of our historic downtown." I would ask your help in encouraging and assisting city staff in making this happen.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Would you support adding a 6th one for the Space Force? Add one for the Space Force also.
Yeah, that's why I said, as was at the time.
Yeah.
You bet.
What do you think?
Sounds great.
Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the board would like to have moved down from the consent agenda for additional questions or comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the September 9th, 2024 special meeting, January 14th, 2025 special meeting, and January 14th, 2025 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of the Planning Commission minutes for the December 3rd, 2024 regular meeting. Acknowledgement of disbursements for January 13th through January 17th, 2025. And final reading of Bill Number 6517, an ordinance approving the contract with the Missouri Department of Conservation for a mutual aid agreement and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion approving all items on the consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Lucas? Denham? Cooper?
Yes.
Howden? LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is an update on lodging safety initiative.
And we'll begin with a report from Alex.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I'm here tonight to provide a special announcement regarding our lodging safety initiative and a few updates. So just to give you an idea of where we initially tried to mark our progress here on the lodging safety initiative, we set out with the following 4 goals. Create a fair, enforceable regulatory environment for our lodging establishments operating within the city, to ensure legitimacy in our city's business licensing, to ensure the city of Branson enforces the minimum laws and regulations to protect life and safety, and to ensure all non-compliant lodging establishments have the repeated opportunity for compliance assistance measures to get into compliance. As you can imagine, we started this process back in July of 2023. I spoke to you all in July and also in September with a brief update on our lodging safety initiative. I just wanted to kind of walk you through some of the steps to date that we've taken on this matter. We started also, of course, with our review of our regulatory framework, really looking at, now that we know the issue, right, with lodging safety and a lot of non-compliant operations in town, what are our frameworks, what's our ability, what's our jurisdiction, and what's our authority, essentially, to help resolve this matter. So we did that, a lot of legal work, a lot of work with our program staff, and then we expanded that conversation to the business community and a lot of our stakeholders to make this initiative successful. Include the Taney County Health Department, Branson Area Lodging Association, and of course the nonprofit network stakeholders that were hugely important during this process. We formed an internal work group across fire, code, licensing staff, legal, city administration, to really get all of our ducks in a row in the sense of how are we going to go ahead and address this. And we actually identified a series of non-compliant lodging establishments. And through that, we came up with a very comprehensive compliance assistance process with numerous steps for notifications, education resources, re-inspections, and just a truly robust compliance assistance model that's truly set on achieving compliance here on this important issue. And lastly, of course, we spent the last year implementing this system. So again, to give you just a quick framework here, lodging safety really incorporated city building codes, our property maintenance codes, our fire codes, our health codes, city business licensing, Taney County Health Department permits for lodging, and of course the state lodging license, in addition to obviously remittance of taxes. And again, our true objective was to provide a clear direction to city departments on the priority of public health and safety and ensuring that all lodging establishments are licensed. And of course, our second objective was to ensure that out-of-compliance establishments meet the minimum requirements and achieve full licensing. So I'm proud to announce tonight, we've actually successfully completed this initiative. We know we've done the legwork, and to give you an idea, there are 62 properties we identified who are not licensed, who had significant life safety violations, some of them. And so we tackled that list here as an attorney city work group. 5 of those establishments received full closure notices from the city, which means their water was shut off or the building was condemned. And again, that was due to failure to address significant life safety violations, and again, not having a valid business license to operate. 3 additional lodging establishments are no longer operating or closed. Some of that was voluntary closure or termination, failure to pay water bills. And the other 2 were actually found not to be lodging establishments. And actually, more multifamily use. So we were able to remove them from the framework of lodging establishment that they didn't necessarily fit and be a part of into their own category where they can be successful. And I think lastly, the biggest metric that I really want to highlight is 52 properties came into compliance. And so that means they passed fire, they passed our property maintenance, they passed health, they passed the licensing procedures, were issued their state lodging license. And those are all properties that maybe have been licensed in the past, but their licenses had lapsed. Some were historically never licensed. And so that's a huge number, given the amount of inspections and some of the historical chronic problems that some of these properties experienced. So to get 52 out of 62 into compliance, and to truly say and look to our public and say, our lodging establishments in town are either open and fully licensed, or they're closed and they're not operating. So I'm really excited to wrap up this initiative this evening. There's been a lot of work that city staff have put into this at your direction, from courtesy notices that have been issued to compliance meetings to post-closure meetings to re-inspections. I want to give a huge thank you to our city staff in our building safety department, our fire department, the Taney County Health, BALA, and of course the support that you've given us through this process. And I, of course, would be remiss to say thank you to the nonprofit network, who, when an unfortunate situation of a closure had to come about, they were able to step up and really assist the city in our mission and make sure that those who had to be relocated are done so in a really fair and safe way. We also really took a significant look at, okay, so now we've accomplished this initiative. How do we prevent this from happening again? And so we put together a framework here for our current licensing season of how are we going to address lodging establishments that fail to get licensed for this current year that we're in. So we've already identified a list. We have a pretty robust enforcement mechanism in place, but the question is really going to come down to, are you licensed or are you not? And so, this first process, of course, was very compliance assistance based, and we'll continue to do that. But now that we're past, right, a lot of the historical legacy problems with a lot of these properties, and all of them should have been licensed as of October of 2024, the threshold to which we're going to make sure that people are licensed, it's going to be a lot more stringent moving forward, because I think our community definitely does not deserve to go down the path again of having whether it's an extended stay or any type of lodging establishment, not be fully licensed. I think that's something that we owe as a city regulatory body to our constituents, to the visitors, and the many people that live here. It's super important. So like I said, we've already sent out a few notices. We plan on working with these businesses, but there is a line in the sand here of what the expectation is. And again, these are the minimum required codes. So I just want to say thank you to all of our city staff for all the incredible work you've done over the past year, for the support from the board, from Kathy, the mayor, and we're really excited to look forward to our next chapter here as we continue to make Branson thrive and grow. Thank you.
Hey, I'm sorry. Out of those 62, how many of those were operating without a business license? Do you know? Whether it, huh? Oh, that was the number of no business license? Oh, my goodness.
So our list, excuse me, our list initially started off with 14. And then as we did more digging and more analysis, we come to find out that the list is actually closer to 62. So those are properties that may have been licensed, and I want to give some benefit of the doubt here. Some of those properties may have been historically licensed, but have since lapsed. But I will tell you there are some properties that were identified that were never licensed to operate as a lodging establishment.
Yeah, and the biggest gain is the fact that so many of them had actual life safety issues, right? So I think we were just fortunate that we didn't have any events happen with our unlicensed properties.
Mayor? Yeah.
Ralph?
You know, when this initiative first came, you know, we all knew that the initial thrust of this was going to be met with, for lack of a better term, some sense of resistance or some sense of lack of caring for our community. However, you know, when we talk about these departments and quality of life in our community. This initiative addresses those things that it represents. To that matter, what major league execution of this program has been achieved. And it shouldn't be taken lightly. You should all stand proudly and pat yourselves on the back, because it was a monumental task in the beginning because of all of the sets that we had to overcome. And we stood in the gap, and we stood strong on it, and it got done. It got done in reasonable time, actually probably a lot quicker than we expected even. And it was because of the care and the compassion and just the surety that our staff went forward with that allowed that to happen. Yep. And that's why we're able to do this. And that's what makes this community safe, and what makes us accountable to our constituents in the community. And I think that's absolutely the most important thing. And so, Alex, all staff, thank you so much for doing that and standing there.
Thanks,
for us.
Ralph.
Yeah. Glenn?
Yeah, I too want to express my thanks to you, Alex, for leading this, and for the entire staff for getting it done with such grace and diligence in the process. It's been great. I also just wanted to say thank you to largely that same group. I got a call just the other day from the Branson Area Lodging Association, and they were very grateful of your proactive approach of meeting with them, with the various departments, and talking about upcoming inspection regimes and what to watch for and what to think about. They were very appreciative of that, and I think it's nice to see this flip from the enforcement side to the more proactive side, and it'll be fun to watch that play out. So thanks again.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody, anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Okay, then thank you very much, and we are very proud. You make us look really, really good.
Thank you.
Right.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution demonstrating commitment to enhance public safety within the city of Branson, Missouri.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Chief Schmidt.
Your Honor, members of the board, thank you. It's kind of strange being up here first. Hillary usually puts me at the end, so gathering my thoughts here. No, I'm very excited to bring this to everyone, not only here, but in the public. As those of you are aware, our new governor, when he took office, he instituted his initiative for the Blue Shield program. And much like the city is very proud of being the most patriotic city in the country, we thought that with the support that we've been getting from this city over the last few years, we would like to try to be the first police department in the city to achieve the Blue Shield status as well. So this resolution is basically just echoing everything that you all have approved over the last couple of years, the incredible strides we've made for the police department, the amount of money that this community has put forward for us, whether it be the police department, our salaries, our training, you name it, everything has been top-notch for us. The support has been incredible, and we feel like it's time to shout and let the rest of Missouri know what everybody's done down here.
Very nice. Is that you? Are you going to read that?
I can, or is that the normal way to do it?
Yeah,
okay.
Please.
All right. Okay, so it's a resolution demonstrating commitment to enhancing public safety within the city of Branson, Missouri. Whereas the city of Branson recognizes law enforcement essential for the safety and security of Branson's citizens and visitors. Whereas engagement and collaboration between the community and law enforcement plays a critical role in reducing crime by fostering trust among residents and law enforcement. Whereas local participation and widespread initiatives cultivates a sense of collective responsibility, trust, and ownership. And whereas public safety is the responsibility of communities at large, not just sworn peace officers, and requires commitment from local leaders. And whereas community buy-in and accountability plays a significant role in influencing criminal activity with the community. And whereas Governor Kehoe has recognized this need for commitment by local governments in Missouri and has, by Executive Order 25-03, created the Blue Shield program to recognize local governments that are committed to public safety within their community. And whereas the city is committed to local participation, collaboration, and engagement with the community and its visitors to meet the responsibility of community commitment to public safety, and whereas the city has made extraordinary investments in public safety over the last 5 years through programs such as enhanced training, new infrastructure, upgraded equipment, and improved salary and benefits to attract and retain the best police safety personnel and service to the Branson community. And whereas the city has made extraordinary investments in public safety over the last 5 years through programs in housing opportunities, lodging safety initiatives, enforced health codes, community cleanups, and collaboration with community and state partners for safer roads, and a holistic approach to engage and collaborate in areas beyond law enforcement to support and increase public safety. And whereas Branson has active community policing initiatives in place as a joint effort to invest in and improve public safety in a significant way through co-responder partnerships with Borough Mental Health, in addition to programs including the Summer Teen Engagement Program, Citizens Academy, Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Team, the Go Caps Program, National Night Out, Operation Blue Santa, and Shop with a Hero. And whereas the city has a robust police officer recruitment and retention program to maintain a dedicated workforce, and whereas the city has demonstrated effectiveness in reducing crime by achieving full staffing to enable proactive policing, fostering strong community relationships to identify and address problems collaboratively, and investing in advanced technology to identify and apprehend criminals prior to committing crimes in Branson. And whereas the city actively participates in regional anti-crime task forces of COMET, which is Combined Multi-Jurisdictional Enforcement Team, and the United States Marshals Midwest Violent Fugitive Task Force, and is committed to continuing these collaborative efforts in the future. And whereas the city's police department is in compliance with all the following statutes: 43505, the Uniform Crime Reporting System; 43544, reporting intoxication offenses; 590-030, Post Minimum Standards Basic Training and Federal Rap Back Program; 590-650.3, Vehicle Stops Reports; 590.700, Custodial Interrogation; and 590-1265, Use of Force Reporting. And whereas the Board of Aldermen supports the continued prioritization of public safety and desires to approve this resolution.
Okay, that's awesome.
That was long.
You're a good reader, Chief.
Thank you.
Any comments from the board?
We hit all the metrics there.
Chief, I'll tell you, for the last 5 years, what our community has felt as far as our public safety, the spirit that you have in your police department, the equipment you're provided, new police station may or may not open this year. Oh, wait, no, it is opening this year. Our community couldn't be more proud of the police force that we have.
And thank you. And I can tell you that the men and women of the police department, to include our civilian personnel, are just absolutely overjoyed about the support that we've been given. It has been a night and day turnaround since when I first got here, and it's been extremely happy to be in that position, and they are very thankful for everything you all have done as well as the community. We continue to hear so many compliments. I'm in that rare stage where we're still receiving more compliments than complaints. Anytime you've got that in the police force, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Congratulations. Anybody else? In the audience?
Thank
There
you.
go. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Can we have a vote really quick?
We do have to vote. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6518, an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement with Taney County and the Taney County Sheriff's Office to provide emergency responses and mutual aid within the jurisdictional boundaries of the other party and with respect to the city outside of the jurisdictional boundaries of the city of Branson, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
For the first reading of Bill Number 6518, do I have a motion approving this bill?
So approved if he doesn't read it.
Chief, do you want to read Bill 6518?
I would like to just provide a summary, if I may.
So let's, we have a motion and a second. Let's hear your summary.
So this is a renewal, basically. Every couple of years, we renew this mutual aid agreement with the county sheriff's office. It complies with state law for mutual aid, and basically it protects both entities and specifies who's responsible for what. For instance, if we're assisting Taney County, it still falls under our workers' comp policy. If we have somebody injured and so forth, explains and agrees to the requirements, the limitations and so forth for enforcing the law in each area. But basically allows the two agencies to work together hand in hand. Obviously, the same issues that affect the county affect us. So it's vital that we have this agreement in place so that we don't have a lapse in our ability to assist each other. And so we do recommend the approval of this.
Members of the board? Marshall?
Hey, Chief, just curious. If we were to ever, God forbid, enter into mandate world again, would we get any sticky situations, like if the county was to mandate masks or vaccines or anything like that, that this agreement would tie us into?
I don't anticipate anything like that. For one thing, the county, as our government runs, the county government tends to run too, as far as those thoughts and processes. But in order for the mutual aid to happen, the chief designated officer has to approve it. So if we had a request for something, as long as it was not a safety issue-minded thing, then we could confirm or deny the use of our people in that, and vice versa for them as well. But anything mutual aid like that, we tend to go and help establish control and safety. The actual charging is still done through the agency where it's occurring.
Yeah. Ruth, you have some?
Yeah, just to add on to what Marshall just said, when I was reading the agreement, it would be more of like the mutual agreement of if Taney County was to come into the city limits of Branson, it would be what Branson's ordinances are and to support that and vice versa.
Yeah, so it is a little different for the county than it is us. So remember, the county does have jurisdiction within the city. So if their deputies do witness a violation or something, they can always take action here. So if they see it, that's why you'll see them making a traffic stop or something. But generally, crimes within the city are referred to us, and they would only respond if they were like right around the corner, it was something dangerous, or we requested they come and take it. But even then, they're just going to stabilize it. While they could charge, they prefer to let our officers, using our discretion, make the charges, just like we do for them.
Any other questions from the board? Questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, are we voting on this? Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6518 for its final reading,
Due to,
because the chief wants it.
It's for timeliness. It was supposed to become in effect January 1st is when our last one expired, but we didn't get the signed one from the county until after that.
so we have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Anyone in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6518, an ordinance approving the intergovernmental agreement with Taney County and the Taney County Sheriff's Office to provide emergency responses and mutual aid within the jurisdictional boundaries of the other party and with respect to the city outside of the jurisdictional boundaries of the city of Branson, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the final reading of Bill number 6518. To have a motion approving this bill.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak to this? Any members in the audience? Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call vote, please?
Lucas? Denham? Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Your Honor, the next item is the public hearing and first reading of Bill Number 6519, an ordinance amending Chapter 94 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to food truck court.
We will now open this public hearing and begin with a staff report from Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, Mayor, Board, City Administrator Sepp. Thank you for your time tonight. Let me find my clicker. All right. So tonight I'm requesting approval for the changes to the special use standards related to food truck courts. In November, we began revising the code regarding food trucks as part of the Red Tape Initiative. This is a follow-up to that for continuity as the code regulations for food truck courts. Sorry. Give me 1 second, I apologize. I got off my... This isn't how I normally do it, so I apologize for the delay. Okay, we're back on track. So here's the history for the food trucks and the food truck courts. I went to the Planning Commission on the 7th, and they passed that ordinance, and then here to you all on the 10th. And for the summary of the proposed code, we are requesting changes to remove the minimum and maximum number of food trucks in a court, the zoning setbacks, the minimum seating requirement, the sale of alcoholic beverages, exhaust hoods and fire suppression, recycling receptacle requirements, allow flexibility for grease interceptors, and clarify signage shall follow current municipal code. These revisions are approved by the Planning Commission. We're asking for your approval tonight. Happy to answer any questions. Sorry for the delay.
It's okay, Amanda. Thank you for that. So this is one of the several issues that has burdened some of our businesses in Branson. And I understand, Kathy, you sat with some of the food truck operators, asked us to review what our current rules were, and listen to their concerns, and so then jointly come up with rules that satisfied both parties. So the food truck industry is okay with this, city's okay with this, and this is just one of those proactive steps that your entire Board of Aldermen appreciates the work. When you do this kind of work for our community, we really, really appreciate that. I know we've heard, probably every alderman has heard complaints from some food truck operators over the years about, is this necessary and is this necessary, right? So thank you, Board. We've cleaned this one up. Any comments from the Board? Marshall?
Hey, I just want to give special kudos to Ralph. Everybody worked really hard on this, and we all have things that we kind of from time to time take interest in. I know he spent a lot of time on this, talked to a lot of people, so good job, buddy.
Anybody else? Ruth?
Not that the department's really special to me, but thank you for your leadership in that department, amazing staff. And thank you, Kathy, for so many things come up and then immediately they're on the agenda, and we really appreciate it. And thank you for the presentations that you give. Very thorough, thanks.
Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Oh, Ralph, did you want to go in the audience?
You know, all I want to say is, you know, this is just another reason to say that Branson is open for business. You know, this is one of those things that have plagued us, and our city staff just, you know, jumped right in on it and tackled it head on, and again, just came out with a great work product that is, you know, congruent with our life safety issues, quality of life, and all the things that we stand for. And in turn, you said, businesses want it. It's that entrepreneurial spirit that I think this will ignite, and it'll be, again, just a great asset to our community to be able to have these kinds of food courts and food trucks in our community, because it really ups the game. Because I don't know if, for those of you who haven't tried food trucks, those entrepreneurs are hands-on. The food is great, the experience is great, and it's well worth the money that you spend. And I could tell you, I've gone to restaurants all over the country, and I'm like, wow, I just spent that much money for that experience, and I wish I had it back. But those food trucks are always an amazing experience, because you get not just great food, but the character behind the person cooking the food. And I think that's a great thing for our community, and I think it's great for our visitors to have that experience.
Thank you. Anyone else? This public hearing is now closed. You've heard the first reading of Bill number 6519. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to address this? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is the public hearing and first reading of Bill number 6520, an ordinance approving a final subdivision plat for the Summit at Branson Estates, Branson, Missouri.
We'll now open up a public hearing and begin with a staff report from Amanda Ross.
All right, this is a request to approve a subdivision plat for the Summit at Branson Estates. The changes to the plat convert a condominium split into a subdivision, incorporating the common area into each residential parcel. This is the proposed final subdivision plat. This is an overview of the location. It's a little closer overview. The orthometric views from the north and the east, the south and the west. So this is showing that it's low-density residential. The current use and continued use is low-density residential in a planned development. The neighbors, another parcel with the same low-density residential use. The blue is the planned development. All utility easements continue and were previously recorded on a plat in 2003. And we are asking for approval. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Amanda, this went through planning and zoning,
Correct.
and the vote from planning and zoning was
I believe it was 6,
7-0?
I think it was 6-0. One person was online, I believe. Nope. Is that right? 6.
It was 7-0 because we had another commissioner who was present but not showing on the video who voted for it, but could not be calculated as an additional affirmative vote.
Fair enough. Any members of the board have any questions regarding this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Not a question, but I just wanted to say thank you to you and your staff for being mindful that this was zone plan development and there were some specific regulations that applied, and you ensured that it was included on the final subdivision plat. Thank you very much.
Kathy?
Well, I just see that we have in the audience with us today, Harry. And did I see that you're retiring soon? Did I read that? I'm semi-retired. I take care of my wife who has Alzheimer's. Bless you. Okay, I just wanted to congratulate you, and I hope you get to spend even more time with her moving forward. So thank you for your work on this, too.
I won't repeat that. Maybe they didn't hear it online. Harry, is this why you were here for this? Yeah. Okay. You want to, if you're going to rattle, we need you.
Primary impetus, as everyone knows, casualty insurance has gone through the roof. And right now, the residents are paying over $400 a month each for casualty insurance on their units, and this will bring that cost down by $200 or $300 a month for now. Thank you very much.
Harry, thank you. Anybody else in the audience have any questions? Yes.
You went through the slides so quickly, I couldn't see where exactly this is.
Yeah, let me get,
Like, where is it located in Branson? What are some major cross streets?
yep. give
What
me
is
a
that
second.
first location map?
So this one might be the
There.
easiest for you to see here.
It's by the old high school. Yeah, that's the old John Earl Chase Stadium there.
This is Yakov's Theater right here. Branson Hills Parkway.
Okay. It's across the way from Bird Road.
Yes. Any other questions from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Sorry, we're still in the public hearing.
I didn't
portion.
close it?
That's where we're at, just to close it, and then, there you go.
Public hearing is now closed. So you've heard the first reading of Bill number 6520. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
Any members of the board wishing to talk? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Harry, thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6521, an ordinance amending Section 2-136 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to powers and duties of city administrator.
You've heard the, just kind of shaking up here. You've heard the first reading of Bill number 6521. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Holly.
This is a way to address the ability for the city administrator to resolve disputes of values less than $50,000 as provided by Chapter 77 of the revised statutes.
Okay. Any members of the board have any questions or comments? Members of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Holly, you did great.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the filing of appropriate applications for grant funding supporting city needs.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Holly.
This is a way to address when we are on a short timeline in regards to an application for a grant. It authorizes a director with signatures, if required by the mayor or the city administrator, to apply for a grant. It in no way is the acceptance of the grant, but there are times we find out about opportunities for grants and we don't have a meeting in which we can have a specific application authorization. It would come back to the board in regards to any application that is granted before there was an agreement. Obviously, that has to go to the board. But this allows, in some situations when we're tight on time, it's not to supplant the process where we let you know exactly what we're applying for when we have time. We did have an instance last year where we found out about a grant, but because we didn't have a second meeting in December, we were unable to apply for those funds. It would not be for an application for any matching funds that are not met in the budgetary requirements.
And so, yeah, thanks for doing that. So it would, Kathy would have the authorization, and you're saying a director would have the authorization.
So would the mayor, depending on the grant funding, and these are state and federal, some of them require it to be the mayor to sign, some will allow the city
Okay.
administrator. So that's why we stated that whoever the applicable, all of that is determined by the grantor, by the grant entity.
Any member of the board have any questions? Marshall?
So Holly, it's probably pretty common for a deadline to be the end of the year, right? So that not having a second meeting in December could hurt, right?
I don't think that's it. Sometimes you get pour-over grants now where they've funded money from some of the COVID allocations, and we've seen some of those grants didn't come to fruition, and so they had pour-over money. So you see some of those. Some of them we're not aware of, and you're talking to another director in another entity, and they say, hey, you know, we just finished up our grant. What grant are you talking about? Oh my goodness, this would be great for us. So it would allow for that opportunity. In some cases, they require them to be specific within the grant, and so in those cases, we still would be coming to you asking for an emergency meeting for that approval. But this, we hope, would meet some of those minimal requirements when we're on a timeline. It's not to be used as a replacement in any way.
Any other questions from the board? Ralph?
I really just have a comment. Like, I know there was an incident like during kind of like a little post-COVID where a Fortune 500 company was offering $50,000 grants for Parks and Rec situations. And I was told that by one of their executives, but this is where that came in. The deadline was before we would have had our follow-up meetings, and it just didn't make sense. So this is something where we can kind of get ahead of that and at least have an application and then notification.
My
thereafter.
experience with private funds are that they don't require such formality because they also don't generally require a contract, an agreement. So whenever we get federal funding or state pass-through money, we come to you for that agreement by ordinance. In most, and that's why I said this is mostly talking about state and federal funding, but if that were a requirement, we would be able to give them this resolution. We did it via resolution because it has a term, a limited term, and the idea is that we would come to you asking for that yearly at the beginning of the year so that we can address it if it comes up throughout the year.
Very nice. Any other questions from the board? Questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you, Holly. We're now at the report section of the meeting. Alderman Lucas, what say ye?
I just want to advise the mayor and the board that Alderman Schultz and I are going to be requesting a special meeting to go over the topic again of the start dates for the streetscape project, requesting that we can move that back to next January instead of starting in April.
I thought that decision has already been made.
We've already gone out to bid. The bids are supposed to arrive, I think, February 17th, if I remember correctly, Michael, 17th or 18th. At that point, we will know if we would be able to award a successful bidder. And then the plan would be to continue with moving forward, starting construction right after spring break and finishing up no later than October 15th of 2025. If we don't have any bidders, then there's another conversation to be had about a new timeline. But the wheels have been in motion on this. So I'm not sure what the second meeting would be. No, we haven't received any yet, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Ruth?
I just wanted to say thank you to Mark Colussi, he's not in here anymore, and other Branson leadership team working on the comprehensive planning committee. I had the opportunity to attend the meeting and be a part of this committee. I'm looking forward to all the wonderful feedback we're going to get and moving forward with our new comprehensive plan for the city.
Very nice. Clay?
I just want, again, to Amanda for the food truck issue and all the stuff that we've talked about for years about making it easier to do business, and that's just a small piece of it. So it's good to see that finally happen. There's so many things that we've signed, codes and stuff that we've talked about, so it's really cool to actually talk about it and then see it happen. That's cool.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's it.
Marshall? Ralph?
Yeah, and I think, Clay, that's, that red tape initiative is what's really driving this. And you know, it's not just one particular area or one particular department, it's across the board. And that's where that synergy and that success is going to come from. And, you know, so thank, you know, every director for their leadership in that. And Kathy, you also, and Mr. Mayor and the rest of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn?
Yeah.
Go Chiefs.
Yeah, yeah, where was that,
Yeah.
Marshall? I had an observation that I just wanted to share with the aldermen and the administration. When we were at the Capitol a few weeks ago, I was kind of surprised walking in the door to the Capitol. I think most of you are aware that I'm a professional firearms instructor. And you go through security in the Capitol, kind of like you would in any airport, and sort of like we do when we walk into City Hall here. But right in front of you, as you're doing that, is a great big sign. And that sign says, concealed carry permit holders are welcome to carry in the state capitol, except in the actual chambers of the Senate and the Assembly. That's not permitted. And I thought, you know, that was kind of an interesting thing. First, it just absolutely cements how we are as a state in terms of respecting gun rights. You know, it's kind of the ultimate statement. And I look at our situation here and wonder if we wouldn't be able to echo what our state capitol is doing. Obviously, it would take some discussion and planning, but the general idea is concealed carry holders have gone through training, both on the law, the liability issues, all those kind of things, as well as required range qualification time, which is different from many other states. So when people have a concealed carry license, they actually have something to back it up. And it's just something I think for us to think about, maybe not in an immediate situation, but I was really impressed. In fact, I'll just share with you that when I did go through with a firearm, right away, of course, you set off the scanner when you go through, just like you would here. And that was the day of inauguration. So there were law officers in every corner that you could imagine. And one of them comes, the lady says to me, "Sir, would you step aside there?" and motions to the officer in front of me, and no problem. And I had my concealed carry card up, and the officer looked at it. He said, "Very good, sir. Glad you're with us. Go on in." And that was it. I mean, it was just ultra professional, ultra respecting our concealed carry rights and our gun rights here in the state. So just something for us to think about. A different topic, I talked about this a little bit at the CED meeting because we attend that, Alderman Howden and I regularly attend those meetings. And a couple of meetings ago, we were asked about the same thing, Mr. Mayor, that you commented on in the newspaper about the tourism tax and kind of the ups and downs of that compared to sales tax. And at the time, they were looking at the same thing that most people do, and I think it was, if I recall the figure, it was that the theater districts were down 9.9%, which was kind of odd, but I'm getting feedback that that may be reality, in fact, in those reports. But my comments to the TCED board, and I'd like to make them to us as well, just so that we kind of think about it, especially coming off of a finance committee meeting here last week, is when we look at those numbers, they aren't up very high. And the concerning thing for me is that inflation, consumer price index during last year was 2.9%. And so if you look at our numbers and then say if you'd factor the 2.9% inflation in there, we are actually negative in terms of realization over inflation. And so I just would like us to think about doing a little bit more analytical work on those numbers. I think we're in a good spot, especially with tourism tax, because we get those reports directly into the city. You know, it doesn't bounce up to the state. So there's a lot of metadata sitting in our reports that I think we should harvest and start analyzing against those numbers to see if we can correlate any other issues that maybe we as a city, or maybe even TCED in the way that they market, or something else might be able to positively influence those numbers. So I just bring it up as food for thought. I've been talking with Chief of Staff about that same idea, but I think it's just something that maybe we'd even want to specifically direct that the Finance Committee take on this task along with the city staff and then report back to the aldermen after they've kind of hashed through the details or something like that. So just a thought. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy? I don't have anything other than, I'll sound like a broken record, but I couldn't be happier with our directors and the progress. And Cindy, is that public information about what you shared earlier about the RV park? Well, she was glowing.
I was excited to announce that we're going to have our ribbon cutting and celebration for the expansion of the RV park on February 28th. We're still debating on a time, maybe 1 or 2 o'clock, but it's going to be a really fun event. Ribbon cutting and then just park tours and, you know, maybe a food truck, some fun things going on. So hopefully if you have connections, if the weather, you can get the weather to cooperate, that'd be great.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. That's all I have. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.